Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to move way beyond the standard hype to uncover exactly how a 19-year-old became the undisputed center of the football universe. Seriously, we're looking at a story today that basically defies logic. It shatters historical precedents, and honestly, it forces us to completely rethink what's even possible for a teenager on a football pitch.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the $400 million teenager.
So, picture this. It's July 2026. He has just blown out 19 candles, and he is carrying the hopes of an entire nation heading into a massive World Cup semifinal against France. Now, with a tournament like that in full swing, you'd probably assume the most valuable player in the world is an established veteran, right? Or maybe someone in their mid-20s prime. You naturally think of names like Erling Haaland or Kylian Mbappe. But the data right now is telling a completely different and frankly astonishing story about where the true value in world football actually lies.
Check this out. The CZ's Football Observatory currently values Lamine Yamal at over $400 million. Just let that sink in for a second. Statistically speaking, he is the most valuable player on the planet, and to make sure he goes absolutely nowhere, Barcelona has shielded him with a staggering €1 billion release clause. They've effectively locked him in as the cornerstone of their entire sporting and financial future for the next decade.
Which brings us to Section 2, outperforming Messi and Ronaldo.
To truly wrap our heads around that massive valuation, we have to compare what he's doing right now with the sport's greatest icons when they were his exact age. Look, it's one thing to be good as a teenager, but it is another thing entirely to outpace the two greatest players of the modern era. This table brilliantly illustrates what I mean. By his 19th birthday, Yamal had already racked up 182 senior games and 120 goal contributions. Now, if you take the output of both Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo at that exact same age and combine them, they only had 108 games and 54 goal contributions. I mean, Yamal's output literally exceeds the combined output of Messi and Ronaldo at 19. It is completely unprecedented.
And he hasn't just been participating in these tournaments either. He has been absolutely tearing up the record books across La Liga, the Champions League, and the European Championship. I'm talking about making his Barcelona debut at just 15 years and 290 days old. He became the youngest ever scorer and winner at Euro 2024, the youngest to score in a Champions League semifinal, and he secured over 100 official appearances before even turning 18. Yamal's literally redefining the timeline of football greatness.
So let's look at Section 3, the transfer that almost happened.
Because here's the crazy part. This historic run at Barcelona was very nearly derailed before it even started. For all the broken records and that €1 billion release clause, Barcelona fans came dangerously close to watching him do all of this in a different club shirt. Let's rewind to 2022 and see how this all builds. Bayern Munich got internally agreed to a €5 million package for the then 14-year-old. And the Yamal family, they were seriously considering making the switch to Germany. It was a total sliding doors moment. It was only blocked when super agent Jorge Mendes stepped in, stalled the negotiations, and ultimately convinced Yamal to commit his future to La Masia and Barcelona.
While Yamal ultimately chose to stay in Spain, his La Masia teammate and close acquaintance Adem Aznou actually did make that move to Munich in 2022. It's a fascinating reminder of how razor-thin the margins of football history really are. Just one decision, one agent's intervention, completely shaped the modern landscape of the sport.
All right, Section 4, the false 10 upgrade.
Now, if we want to understand why his value skyrocketed, specifically heading into 2026, we've got to look at the tactical upgrade engineered by Barcelona manager Hansi Flick. Because Yamal isn't just relying on his raw talents anymore, he has undergone this massive tactical evolution. He went from being a terrifying one-on-one touchline winger into a hybrid false 10. What does that actually mean for us watching? Well, it means he's now manipulating the entire defensive structure of the opposition. He isn't just waiting out wide to beat a fullback anymore. He's coming into the center, acting almost like a tactical control panel and dictating the entire rhythm of the game.
This simple progression here shows exactly why he is absolutely unstoppable right now. As he drifts inside from the wing, his gravity forces 2 or even 3 defenders to panic and collapse on him, but instead of getting flustered, he uses that exact pressure as leverage. By drawing the defense in, he tears open these massive, unprotected spaces behind them for teammates like Rafinha and Lewandowski to exploit. Even on the days when he doesn't score, he is completely dismantling the opponent's defensive block.
But this brings us to a really crucial point. Section 5, the threat of burnout.
Transforming a teenager into a global tactical linchpin for both Barcelona and the Spanish national team obviously comes with a severe cost. We just can't ignore the reality of what this kind of workload does to a developing human body. The Global Players Union, FIFPro, has actually sounded the alarm with this exact quote. They're warning that relentless competition demands are exposing young talents like Yamal to dangerous long-term risks. They're practically pleading for the sport to prioritize development over exploitation, pointing out that playing a teenager this much seriously threatens their career longevity.
Honestly, the sheer volume of his workload is terrifying. By his 18th birthday, Yamal had made 130 senior appearances. Notice how that single number exactly equals the combined early career totals of 3 of Spain's greatest recent prodigies. You've got Andres Iniesta with 45, Cesc Fabregas with 45, and Ansu Fati with 40. That's 130 total. Yamal is literally doing the work of 3 generational talents combined.
And when you compare him to the last 15 Golden Boy winners, which is an elite group that includes guys like Messi and Mbappe, his workload is completely unprecedented. He sits a massive 31% higher in total minutes played prior to his 18th birthday than the next highest player on the list, Jude Bellingham. We have just never seen a player integrated into elite senior football this aggressively before.
Entering the 2026 World Cup semifinals against France, his own national team manager publicly urged patience, recognizing the crushing weight of expectation placed on a player who literally just turned 19. Luis de la Fuente had to remind the press, and maybe even Yamal himself, that he is still just a kid who needs to play without anxiety.
So as Yamal continues to break every boundary of what a teenager can achieve on the pitch, we are left with a pretty heavy question. Will these monumental records, the $400 million valuations, and the tactical mastery be the foundation of ultimate long-lasting greatness, or are they the warning signs of a peak reached far too soon? It's a question the entire football world is going to be watching unfold. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Definitely keep an eye on that World Cup semifinal because history is happening right in front of us. See you next time.